1st of September, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua Nitzavim.
Good. Okay, Yisparech Bilbobo. So we'll be up to the Rashi over here. Pasuk, the Rashi on Pasuk Yud Ches. I think, Lou, you were reading, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, he will bless himself in his heart. Lashon bracha, it's an expression of blessing. Yachashov belibo, he will think in his heart. Birkas shalom la'atzmo, a blessing of peace to himself, or saying, Lo yevo uni kilalos halalu. These curses will not reach me. Ach, rather, shalom yeli, I will have peace. Yisparech, he will bless himself.
No, so just going to make a point over here before we do the next Rashi. Rashi's going to explain the word. Rashi's is bothered as follows. Rashi's bothered that how can it be that a person can bless himself? What does he mean to bless? So Kodesh Baruch Hu gives blessing, right? A person's always, and also it doesn't say what does he say? How does he bless himself? And he says, blesses himself in his heart, saying, peace will be with me. Okay? So Rashi explains, what does that mean? He will consider and think in his heart a blessing of peace for himself. Meaning, he's not actually blessing himself. He will consider himself blessed. And that's what the next Rashi is going to say. Rashi brings a French word.
In old French, Bendira say,
okay.
It's like the he's galach, and he will shave himself. The he's halel, he shall pray.
Now, okay. Now this palel we're going to dwell on because Rashi here is an eye opener to what the meaning of the word V'yispalel means. Rashi obviously is understanding as a reflexive verb, and it is. Have you ever thought about it? Why is it we use the term V'yispalel, which means ostensibly it means to pray? What is the reflexive aspect to it? Anyway, we're going to see. This is what we're going to see how to understand this Rashi. So basically, what Rashi is saying is, he's not necessarily blessing himself per se, giving himself a blessing. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. He's not giving himself a blessing. It means he's considering himself blessed. That's what Rashi is explaining it. He's considering himself blessed. He's not giving himself a blessing. He is considering that what he does or whatever his way thing, he is a blessed person. Mamela, nothing's going to happen to him. He's not actually giving himself a blessing. He's considering himself blessed. Okay? So what does that mean? Okay. So that's what Rashi is bringing from these two examples of the Hiskalach and the Hispaleh. I'll explain in a second. But that's the what Rashi is saying is, Yachshe beliba birka shalom latzim, meaning not that he's giving himself a blessing. because that you could mean that hisparef means to actually do an action to himself, meaning to bless himself. Actually, so a person can't really bless himself because who gives the blessings? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not really a person who can bless himself. Elamai, he's considering himself blessed. Now, what Rashi means is as follows. This is not an active reflexive verb, it's a passive reflexive verb. Meaning, he's having himself blessed, or in this context, meaning he's considering himself blessed. So let's go to see the Rashi's first example. His skaloch. That is referring to that when the Metzora, it depends on which situation. But one situation is when he purifies himself, he has to shave. He has to shave his entire body. Now, let me ask you: when the Metzora does that, he has to do it himself, or can he have somebody else do it for him? It's going to be shaven from top to toe. So it's pretty obvious, it's clear from the Gemara Lamais or whatever, that the mitzvah is v'hiskalach doesn't mean he himself has to take the shaver, or whatever it is, razor, whatever it may be, and he himself does the actual shaving. It means he has to have himself shaved. That's what v'hiskalach means. He must have himself shaved. Again, Rashi is saying another example. It's not an active act, a reflexive act that he's doing it to himself. It's a passive. He has to have himself shaved. That's what Rashi is bringing this example. His skaloch. Okay, let's now move on. Is that okay till now? Clear? Okay. Now let's go on to the next thing. The hispalel. Okay. Now, what does it mean, lehispalel? What reflexive action are you doing?
You will have somebody else pray for him.
So, sorry?
You will have somebody else pray for him.
But we're talking about somebody praying himself. Shani mitpalel, I'm praying myself.
So is it
Now,
possible?
Sorry?
Is it possible he palel when he does the physical action of praying, but he's contemplating it in his own mind, reflecting back on what he's saying?
Yeah, but that's not really, any person does any action. When you do a face, you chop wood, you're constantly thinking in your mind, I'm going to chop the wood, right? Rashi's saying what it is.
Okay.
What is the root of the word lehispalel? The root is pei lamed lamed, right?
Okay.
That root, pei lamed lamed, means to judge.
Oh.
It says, for instance, the Parsha Mishpatim, it says, "V'nosan biflili." Just trying to think of other examples. A number of examples. Most classic example is in Sefer Shmuel, Perek Beis, Pasuk Beis. It says that Eli reproved his sons, and it says, let me quote you the psukim right here. But that's a number of places. It says on another page, Vayamad, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, Vayamad Pinchas Vayafaleh, which means he had an argument, he had an altercation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was Pinchas was pleading on behalf of the Jewish people. It says Pinchas stood and pleaded on behalf of the Jewish people. Vayafaleh, he argued with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He had an altercation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you a very radical question. How can ever a person pray for something? L'chaira, who knows best what's good for us?
Hashem.
Right? And therefore, whatever we have happens to us, Hashem is just doing the best thing for us at that particular moment. Now, when we ask for something, it's a little bit of a chutzpah, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu at this point has decided, no, I'm not giving you this. And you come along and you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want this. Okay? So, Elamai, what is Pshat? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to ask for things. Don't think. The answer is HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, but what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one to decide whether he's going to give it to us or not. No other factors will be deciding. Whereas when we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and ask for something, we are recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who is to decide whether we deserve this, what we're asking for or not. So basically, what are we doing when we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a particular thing? We want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to judge us whether we are deserving of that thing or not. I.e., we are having ourselves judged. That's what praying is all about. We're having ourselves judged. That's what Rashi says, Lehispalel. It's a similar idea to Hiskalah and Hisparei. You're not doing an action. You are passively having yourself judged. So that's what the word Hispalel means. It's a bit of I don't say a chidush. I mean, it's looking at prayer from a different angle than what we're used to. But that's what it means. According to the way Rashi is explaining, that's what prayer, lispalo, means, to have yourself judged. When you request something from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're praying to him, you are having yourself judged. And I think it's very interesting that Nitzavim is always the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Sometimes it's Nitzavim Vayelach together, right? But Nitzavim is always the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. And we have this Rashi here. This is Rashi's explaining. If we're praying on Rosh Hashanah, we means we are having ourselves judged by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're calling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are the judge. You're the one to decide what's going to be with us in the coming year. And we're turning to you and we're asking, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please let us have a good year. But the idea is it's a recognition that we are having ourselves judged. That's what prayer is all about. And there's no more appropriate day to turn our request to HaKadosh Baruch Hu than Rosh Hashanah. That is the greatest recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the judge and he's the one to decide what's going to happen to us. So we turn to him, we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we turn to you. We want a good year. There's no doubt HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do for us whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. But the fact that we are turning to him and we are recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one to decide, this is the greatest, how should I say, not just recognition, it's the greatest form of making HaKadosh Baruch Hu king and judge over us. If we turn into HaKadosh Baruch Hu and recognizing that he is the judge, that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants of us on Rosh Hashanah. To recognize that he is the king, the judge, the one in control of everything. Okay? Okay, let's continue.
Vishvirus libi elecha.
Elech.
As my heart thinks fit.
Okay, now Rashi says, Bishrirus libi elech. I will go in Shrirus libi. So this is what Rashi explains. What's Shrirus libi? Rashi says, Yeah, but
Peace be in the vision of my heart.
right. That's
Mo
what my heart sees fit to do.
Mo Ashurenu Velo Karov, which is like, I view it
This is the passage. It
not
says,
here.
this is what Bilam said to Balak when he prophesied about the future of the world. He says, Ashurenu, I see it. Visionize it is not the right word. But I see it in a vision, below Koro, but it's not going to be near. It's not going to be soon. Okay? Kloma, so now Rashi says, what do you mean? A person follows the vision of his heart. Kloma is explained, Mashe. Continue.
Klomar, that is to say, Ma Shelibi Roeh La'asos, that which my heart sees to do.
Sees fit to do. By the way, it's interesting. As I mentioned this yesterday. This guy, we're talking about a guy, he says, you know, I'm not going against the Kodesh Baruch Hu, but I want to decide how to act, how to run my life. Okay? I believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a kind God and everything fine, but I don't want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to dictate to me what to do. I would like to run my own life, what I see fit to do. You know, I feel how I want to connect to Hashem. I want to do it my way. Okay? And this Lemaisa, interestingly enough, the Gemara mentions, and this is an interesting point, the Gemara mentions two types of Avodah Zarah, which were, seems that there were major forms of idolatry. One is Pa'or, right, which was, basically, the Gemara says, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, how did they serve Pa'or? That they would excrete in front of the idol. And there was one situation there, that was one woman came along and she excreted in front of the idol in a pretty, most disgusting way. And the priests of Pa'or said, never before has somebody served Pa'or in such a perfect way.
Yeah.
So the Mefarshim said, Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz explains that the idea of Pa'or was, whatever I feel like, I do what I like. That was the Avodah Zarah Pa'or. In other words, you want to try and call it today's language, the permissive society. Whatever I feel like doing, I feel like doing this way, that way, whatever. That's one form of Avodah Zarah. Okay? The other form of Avodah Zarah, which also seems very strange, was Markolis, or Markulis, was that they would set up a statue or a monument made of stones, a pile of stones, and the avodah was to throw stones at the idol. So it's also, again, what seems very strange. What's this idea of throwing stones at the idol? So the way I understood it is as follows. This is an extension. You have many people who are not going to believe in a permissive society. No, society has to have rules. You can't just do what you like. That's anarchy. You can't just do what you like. So there has to be a set of rules how you act. But if I have feelings, why shouldn't I be allowed to express my feelings? That's what people say. Let me express my feelings. If I feel angry, let me get out my anger. And afterwards I'll behave. At least I've a full right to express my feelings. If If I feel angry, I feel angry. If I feel greedy, I want to feel greedy. If I want to feel whatever particular feeling I may have at a particular time, yeah, then I should be allowed to do it. So that was the avodah zarah of Makolis. Let out your feelings. If you want to let out your feelings, you're allowed to let out your feelings. But that's avodah zarah. Because we believe that Kodesh Baruch Hu gives us a set of rules, not just how we act, but also how we're supposed to think and how we're supposed to treat other people and how we're supposed to interact with other people. And if a person has feelings of anger, he has to work on himself to control that anger. It's not a commendable thing to say, well, if I've got feeling angry, why should I be allowed to let out my feelings? No, control your feelings. Control yourself. That's what we believe in, not just to feel free to act as you, to express yourself as you wish. That's not a Jewish way of doing things. You've got to control yourself. And if the Torah prescribes a certain way of acting, then if you have a feeling, your inner or your natural feelings are to act against that, control yourself. Similar martial anger. That's why it's interesting, the Torah in itself never actually addresses control of feelings. Very rarely it says, you mustn't hate somebody. But you see what he did to me? I shouldn't feel hatred towards him. So it says no. Or similarly, not speaking Lashon Hara about other people. So that's more actually thing. Or you have other examples. Do not take revenge and not to bear a grudge. Now, how can I not bear a grudge when so-and-so did something such a terrible thing to me? I shouldn't feel grudge against him. So it tells you no. I'm not going to insist. The Torah doesn't expect you to be an angel, by the way, but nevertheless, the Torah still expects a person to be able to have the inner power to control himself, to control those feelings. Anyway, that's so. This person, he's like, this is in essence, he said, over avodah zarah. Means I'm willing to accept that Hashem is the ruler, king of the world, or whatever. But I want to do what I consider the correct way of behavior. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want to be dictated to by a Kodesh Baruch Hu or anybody else. Okay? Yeah. Next Rashi, Lou. The man svos harova es atzmeo.
Man svos harava, thereby adding to the drunk. The fee she'osif lo por anyos. In order.
Rava, Rashi is going on to explain. Rava is something which was done out of drunkenness, which means without full control of oneself, of one's feelings and actions. And smeya means something which was done out of thirst, meaning the person's thirsty, he's not drunk. It's the opposite of drunk. So when a person is thirsty, he's in full control of his faculties, of his mind. Okay, let's see the Rashi again. The fisha oisif lo puranos.
In order to add for him punishment. Al ma she'asa ad ena. For that which he has done up until now. Bishogeg, unintentionally. V'hayis ma'avir alehem. And I would have overlooked them. The go
actually, overlook is not a correct word. I would have let them pass. Right.
But now he has caused she'atzar tame im hamezi, that I should combine them with that which is intentional. Menu hakol, and I will make my due from him for all of it.
Right. It means I will claim from him. I will punish him for everything.
And similarly, Tergame Unkelus. Unkelus translates this. The deal, the Osafa lay het a shalusa al zidanusa. She'asif lo ani, that I will add for him hashigagos, unintentional sins, al hazidonos, onto intentional sins. Doesn't have a translation for this Unkelus phrase, bedil le'osafa le ket a shalusa al zidanusa. It doesn't translate that.
Okay, so what it means is, that's how it came to the Mukas. The deal, in order to add to him, chet a shalusa, unintentional sins, al zaidonusa, to the intentional sins. And the pshat is azoi, and this Rashi is going to go and explain to why Rava means shogeg and Smeo means mazit. But that's how the Targum translates it. In words, in order to add punishment for the unintentional sins, in addition to the intentional sins. And the Chayah was as far as follows. If a person does something, an Aveira, unintentionally, Kosh Baruch will only be willing to forgo, or to be willing to not punish him and forgo what he's done, is if he had known it was an Aveira, he wouldn't have done it. So therefore, he's only done it by virtue of the fact because he didn't know about it. Kosh Baruch says, you only did it unintentionally. You didn't really mean to. And had you known it was an Aveira who would never have done it, okay, then I'll let you go by. But if he had known about it and he would have done it anyway, so what's the point of shogeg? Why should he be given a reprieve for having done it with shogeg? Because every time he does the Aveira, it's like doing it b'mezid. This time he didn't know he was doing it, but had he known he was going to do it, he would have done it anyway. So therefore, there's no reason why we should give him a reprieve for having done b'shogeg. Okay, let's continue the Rashi here. Harava,
the drunk, shogeg, unintentional.
That means shogeg. As Rashi goes on to explain.
Or he acts Adam Shikur, like a man who is drunk. Lo mida'as, without intent.
Right, or with unwittingly.
Atmea, thirsty. Shehu oseh mida'as, where he acts with intent. Uve sava, and with desire.
Right. So that's referring to mazit. Does it intentionally. Okay? Maybe we just make a start on the next pasuk, Meir.
Okay, let's see. Lo Yoveh Hashem Saloach Lo Ki Az Yeshan Af Hashem B'kinato Ba'ishahu V'Rav Tzabo Kol Ha'ala HaKetuva B'Sefer Hazeh Umacha Hashem Et Shemo Mitachat Hashemayim. So low.
Okay, pretty strong language here.
Yeah. What's Yoveh?
Hashem will have no desire.
Oh.
Hashem will not desire to forgive him.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Let's see, then the anger of Hashem.
Rather, Oz Yeshan Af Hashem Bekinosoi. The anger of Hashem and his zealousness will smoke against this person.
Against the man.
Yeshan Loshen Ashan.
Wow.
Let's see how I translated it. Just 1 second.
Will smoke.
So I need to do that. I'll do this. Thing. There we go. When the fury and zest and will smolder against that man.
Smolder.
So I translate it. Kosh Baruch Hu's anger will smolder against that man. What does it mean that Kosh Baruch Hu's anger smolders? I'm not quite sure. But it means that's an expression over here. It will be an anger that produces smoke.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess.
Okay. Will you stop here or I don't mind doing that time? What?
No, that's exactly what smolder means. It's,
right.
It's something hot that's smoking, but no fire.
Yeah. The question is, what does it mean when a person, Bishma can say, I can compare anger to fire. A person's really angry. What does it mean that somebody's, I think the chayra, what it means is normally smoldering, when it produces smoke, is when the fire continues. In other words, when the fire burns initially, then it doesn't give off smoke. It's only when with time, when part of the wood or the fuel is burning out, that gives off the smoke. So what it means is, the idea behind it, is that it will not be just a one-time anger. It will be a continual anger.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. Wow.
Okay. Okay. We'll stop here. I'll give you a rain check for the Rashi for tomorrow.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hold it.